Here's the deal where you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. I want to try to make this as short as possible, but given the upcoming debate, I say conversation with Owen Benjamin coming up this Saturday, January 27th at 2 p.m. Pacific time, which is 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. I thought it would be a good idea to maybe talk about some of the stuff that we've been going back and forth on Twitter. If you're not following me on Twitter, I'm going to put the Twitter handle in the chat room for you. But it's important that we talk about this stuff because this affects everybody's life, not just in America, but everybody. When you back off of morality, when you back off of virtue, when you start embracing misinformation and superstition, you end up in a whole lot of problems to the point where the people who believe these superstitions, the people who believe these figments of their imagination, start doing things to other people that they wouldn't normally do. So you have generally good people who buy into the fact that they can rule somebody, that they can rob somebody, and that they can get away with it, and that their ruling and robbery is legitimate. Then they get this qualified immunity mentality where, hey, I'm not going to suffer any repercussions. Now, if you did the same thing that a government agent does to you, stealing their money, harassing them, abusing them, harming them in some way, if you did the same thing the government agents do, what are you treated by as society? You're rightly treated as a criminal. Why? Because you committed a crime. Because you violated somebody's will. You went across the barrier of consent. And isn't that what murder is? Somebody wants to live and you want to take their lives. You violated their ability to resist. If you're more powerful than them and you overcome them, they no longer exist. It wasn't their will. You imposed your will on that person. That's what rape is. That's the difference between, making love to your wife or having your way with a woman who doesn't want you to have your way with her. That's rape. It violates the will. It violates the principle in the universe of don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to you. So when I talk about anarchism versus statism, they both have very specific definitions, not just in the verbiage and the definition, the literal definition itself, but in how each school of thought lives itself out. Anarchism is not a belief. You don't need belief to understand and know what anarchy is. See, knowing is the enemy of belief. Belief is the enemy of knowing. If you know something, you don't have to exercise belief in it. If you believe in something and you can't prove it, then you don't know it. And the two shall not meet. Knowing and believing do not meet. As soon as belief dissipates, knowing takes over. As soon as there is no knowing, then you're operating just on belief. You can't prove it. I can't prove to you that my spaghetti God is real, but I know he's real. No. You don't know he's real. You believe he's real. So anarchy isn't a belief. It's a reckoning with reality and an embracing of true morality. It is morally superior than statism. Statism is utterly criminal. I want to be left alone. No, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want to keep all the money that I just earned today. I made $100 today. No, I'm taking 40% of it. I'm taking $40 right off the top. I'll tell you what, I'll do you a favor. I'll leave you $60. I didn't earn $60. I earned $100. I'm taking 40 of it. That's the dangerous mentality. And then you're going to take that money from him, and you're going to take that money from her, and you're going to take that money from Frank, and you're going to take that money from Rebecca, and you're going to get all that money, and then you're going to create a war machine. And then you're going to create a propaganda machine. And then you're going to tell people, hey, I got to conscript your sons and daughters for war. It's for your safety. It's for national security. So the government is always going to lie to you. The belief in the fiction of government is the belief that that person has a legitimate right to take from you and to harm you, but other people don't have the right to do it. It is complete fiction. It's demonstrable fiction, as fictional as Santa Claus. But at least with, the belief in Santa Claus, at least you're not going out there and waging war with Iraq in the name of Santa, in the name of good old Saint Nick. I think believing any fiction, believing any lie is detrimental to the human psyche. Believing the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, dragons, believing in all these mythical characters, Zeus, Apollo, Allah, Elohim, Yahweh. Okay, prove they exist. No, I believe in that. That's the book that I'm believing. What book is it? You have to follow my book. If you don't, you're not going to enter heaven. What book is it? The Quran. Okay, so the Christian says, well, if you don't believe my book, you're not going to heaven. And if you're believing the Quran, well, Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And the Muslims are like, no, you got to listen to, Muhammad, the prophet. And then the Buddhists have their thing and the Hindus have their thing. And everybody's all waging war based on belief, not based on knowing. Here, let me prove to you that my God is God. God, go ahead and rain down fire out of heaven. He's not going to do it. Oh, he did it in the Bible. No, that was a story that men said. Somebody wrote down that Pharaoh threw down his serpent staff, and Moses threw down their staff and they became serpents. That's a guy who wrote that. No, that was God. Well, the guy who wrote that said it was God, and now you're believing that it was God. You don't know that it was God. No, all scripture is God breathed and given by the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. Well, that's what a guy wrote. No, Allah promises me 72 virgins. I know that's what you say that he said. And maybe he did say it. Maybe he didn't. But we know one thing. A guy wrote that and you're just believing it. There's no proof for that. Could it be true? Well, maybe. It's the same thing with statism, or the belief in government, or the belief that some man with flesh and blood like you and I have has the right to rule you. You have the right to I have 5 kids. You have the right to rule all of my 5 kids and to take a percentage of their income for the rest of their lives. Why are you talking about? Is this a God that this right has been bestowed upon? Is this a superhuman? No, it's just something that you believe. It's kind of like back in the Aztec times, and they just sacrificed their children to the volcano god so that they could have a good harvest and a safe passage for the next year. They only believe that because somebody told them that. They were brought up in that superstition, and then they chose to believe that superstition. And how many kids died on altars all across the Aztec Empire in the name of the volcano god, who doesn't exist? This is no different. Statism is no different, and has probably racked up a higher body count than any Aztec culture ever could. Because by a conservative estimate, in the last century alone, now it's, the body count has dramatically increased since they did this study back in 2008, 2010, or whatever it was. But by conservative estimates, excluding wars, government is responsible for killing 250 million of its own people. That's 1/4 billion people. A billion. That's just a massive number. No private cartel could ever Al Capone couldn't hope to come that close. You know what? I just, this popped into my mind, but does anybody know who, oh man, what happened to it? Smedley Butler is? Look at Smedley Butler quotes. Look at what he says. This guy was a major general back in the early 1920s and 30s. Listen to what this guy says. I think he even mentions Al Capone. Let me see. Yeah, I think this is the quote I was thinking of. Hey, if you don't believe me, believe a military industrial complex man. This is a lifer. Major general. We're not talking about a private. We're not talking about a corporal. We're not even talking about a captain or a lieutenant. We're talking about a major general. He says, I spent 33 years and 4 months in active military service. And during that period, I spent most of my life as a high-class muscle man for big business. Wait a second. I thought you were a military man. I thought you were a major general in the U.S. military. Yeah, I am. But I was used as a high-class muscle man for big business, for Wall Street and the bankers. In other words, he was used as a tool. He was used as a pawn for foreign policy. And thus the quote that's attributed to Henry Kissinger, I don't know if he said it or not, but it sure sounds consistent with this foreign policy. He said, military men are stupid dogs made to be used as pawns for foreign policy. And what do they give military men when they enter the service? What hangs around their neck? Kissinger said, they're stupid animals. They're stupid dogs. What do they have to humiliate them? And they even use it as a badge of honor? Dog tags. What do they hang around a human's neck? They don't hang human tags. They're not humanity tags. They're dog tags. You're my dog. That is so frickin' startling and frightening and sobering all at the same time. And people who wear them use it as a badge of honor. And the elites are totally humiliating you in broad daylight and saying, we're moving you like pawns on a chessboard. We're going to move you here. We're going to move you there. We're going to do this to you. We're going to put a gun in your hand, or we're going to tell you to blow that guy away. And the people on the other side of the chessboard who we're working with. By the way, both sides are financed by the same financiers. So win or lose, they win a whole bunch of money because defense contractor spending, nothing compares to it in the United States. So he says he was used as a high-class muscle man for big business, for Wall Street and the bankers. In short, I was a racketeer, a gangster for what he calls capitalism, but even he misuses the word because it's not really capitalism. Capitalism is, hey, there's a demand. I want that product. They produce that product. I have the money to buy that product. I'm going to buy it. And there's an exchange of goods or services based on supply and demand. And there's no force, there's no threats, there's no coercion, there's just voluntarism. So he was a gangster for corporatism because he said he worked for big business. And when you mix corporations with capitalism, and then you got all these shady behind the backroom deals, it no longer is capitalism. Now there's coercion, now there's force, now there's price fixing, now there's government involvement, and now capitalism all of a sudden becomes corporatism. So it's this corrupt, well, you can't even corrupt capitalism, but it's not capitalism anymore. I helped make Mexico, especially Tampico, safe for American oil interests in 1914. I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the National City Bank boys to collect revenues in. I helped in the raping of a half a dozen Central American republics for the benefit of Wall Street. I helped purify Nicaragua for the international banking house of Brown Brothers in 1902 to 1912. That's a whole decade. And this is a major general spilling this in a book called War is a Racket. Well, so is government. It's a racket. It's based on fiction. You think that the reason Major General Smedley Butler was put in his position was for national security. Major General Smedley Butler says, no, it wasn't for national security. It was for securing profits for the National City Bank boys. I brought to light the Dominican Republic for the American sugar interests in 1916. I helped make Honduras right for the American Fruit Company in 1903. In China in 1927, I helped to see to it that Standard Oil went its way unmolested. Looking back, I might have given Al Capone a few hints. The best he could do was operate his racket in 3 districts. I operated mine on 3 continents. Tell me that any mafia group, which by the way, they're intermingled with the government too, the NYPD and the Chicago police, they were all in on the backroom deals with Al Capone, letting all that stuff go through in Prohibition. So, there's some convolution going on here, but the bottom line is there is no private, non-government sanctioned or government funded cartel that could ever rival the beast called government. Ever. Not even close. They couldn't get close to billions of dollars, let alone trillions upon trillions of dollars. I mean, look what happened back during Donald Trump's reign, his presidency. He sat down with a pen with that 5,800 page book right next to him called the Stimulus Act, and he wrote a check for $6.2 trillion that we didn't have. We were $30 trillion in debt on the books. It was way more than that if you count unfunded liabilities like Social Security and Medicare, but let's just stick with the 30 trillion. He wrote a check for $6.2 trillion when we were already $30 trillion in debt. It was only supposed to be $2.2 trillion, but $4 trillion evaporated off the top, going to who? Jeff Bezos, Amazon, Elon Musk, Big Pharma. They were getting big checks. Pfizer that year made a $100 billion profit. $100 billion profit. Albert Bourla gave himself a raise during that time. They were getting rich. You weren't. And not everybody who's supposed to get a stimulus check got a stimulus check. But guess what? If you got that $1,400 stimulus check or that $600 stimulus check, it's going to cost you way more than $1,400. Don't think when you get something from the government, you're going to be given some too. I did an economic breakdown of how much if you just receive $1,400 in the stimulus check over the course of a certain time frame, and it keeps going up because it doesn't stay stagnant, but in a certain time frame, that $1,400 will eventually cost you personally $5,800. And you can do the math. You can't look it up anymore because it was erased when they took down my Grease Monkey Videos channel, but it was systematic, and it was objective and demonstrable. I don't understand what people don't understand, and I don't understand where Owen Benjamin is coming from on this. Let me expand this. So I want to show you how important this is, because you can't fund wars unless you have funny money, and you can't have funny money unless you have the Federal Reserve, and you can't have the Federal Reserve unless you decouple the paper money from some commodity that it's inextricably hooked to. Like it used to be pegged, the dollar used to be pegged up until 1971, August 15th, 1971. It used to be pegged to $35 an ounce gold. Well, Bretton Woods was broken by Vietnam because even Charles de Gaulle from France was like, what the heck is going on in Vietnam? How can they afford to fund such a conflict, to have so many weapons of war and so many bombs dropped? How can they afford this if they haven't veered from this $35 an ounce agreement from the Bretton Woods 1944 deal? And then Charles de Gaulle goes across the Atlantic and picks up his gold, and the rest of the gold, well, guess what? The gold window was closed because Nixon said on August 15th, 1971, we're going to protect America from the international speculators. We're going to temporarily suspend the convertibility of gold and other assets. Well, temporary, that was in 1971. This is 2024. That's a 53-year temporary. And nothing is quite so permanent as a temporary government program. But that's agents of government for you. Because they believe, and most Americans believe, that they can do it and get away with it. Nixon didn't go to jail for that. That was absolute in-your-face theft. Not only did they steal, in 1971, when they closed the gold window, not only did they steal gold from the vaults of Fort Knox and wherever else it was from Americans, they stole gold from all the nations who trusted America with their gold and pegging gold at $35 an ounce. If you look at, oh yeah, I have it right here. Look at this. I actually have it up on my screen. Who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thunk it? Look at this. In 1970, here's 69 right here. In 67, the year I was born, $35.50 an ounce for gold. Can you see this right here? And then in 1968, 69, it hovered between $38 and $43. 1971, it was 44. They closed the gold window and went up to 63, a 43% jump in 1 year. And then it went up another 66% in 73, $106. And then 72 more percent to $183. And gold just kept going up. Why? Because they kept diluting the M2 money supply. And when you dilute the money supply and you put more supply in, it diminishes the value of every single fiat currency note. Interestingly, In 1963, that was the last year they minted coins with silver. The 1964 quarter was the last year that they minted dimes and quarters and half a dollars and dollar, the coin dollar with silver. In 1965, it went from 90% silver, 10% amalgam to 10% and actually no silver, and it's just junk metal. Pretty crazy. Look at this, 75, 139. By the time 1985 rolls around or 1987, $486 an ounce. And then it would fluctuate and fluctuate. But one of the things that they do, and I mentioned this in my last video, to keep gold and silver prices down is they paper trade gold. And people actually believe the paper represents gold, but it doesn't. That it represents silver, but it doesn't, or platinum or the other precious metal, but it doesn't. So they dilute the supply or the perceived supply of gold and silver with paper and exchange traded funds and all this. And that's why we only have $2,000 an ounce gold. If you look at the national debt clock here, I don't know. Last time I had trouble pulling up the national debt clock. If I remember right, let's see if it comes up. Oh, look at that. It's coming up fast. Oh, good. If you take there's a lot of valuable information on this national debt clock. And these are just, educated guesses as to what things should be, but you can see, oh, wow, they moved a lot of stuff around. What is this big center thing right here? How do I get rid of that? Huh. Oh, wow, they've got, they got the dollar supply. Okay, they got the dollar to silver ratio. See, silver is only like $25 to $28 an ounce right now. They're saying it should be $1,500 an ounce. They're saying the dollar to gold ratio 5-year is $12,627 per ounce. Can you see this right down here? Oh, I can't click on that. So here's the silver, $1,561 per ounce, and gold, $12,000. But gold is only sitting at what? 6 times less than that, about $2,000 an ounce. But the reason it's so suppressed is because of all the paper trading, because in the realm of finance, they take paper as the real gold when it's not. And when that musical chair comes up, it's done for. The gold, it's almost like there's this tension spring on precious metals. And once that musical chair music stops, it's just going to unleash all of its energy. And if you look at the unfunded liabilities, we're not 33. If you look up in the top left-hand corner, it says that we are $33 trillion in debt. $34.1 trillion in debt right here. See that? But if you look at the lower right, if you count unfunded liabilities, it's really $212 trillion in debt. Let me just remind you how vast a sum $1 trillion is. If you were to earn $1 for every second you were alive, how long would you have to live to earn your first $1 trillion? And keep in mind, $1 a second, there's 86,400 seconds in a day. So you would make $86,400 a day, or about like $22 million a year. How many years would you have to live to collect your first $1 trillion? The answer is not 310 years. You wouldn't have to live for 3,100 years, which would be crazy. You have to live for 31,709 years, making $1 for every second you're alive. That's how vast a sum $1 trillion is. They're saying, counting unfunded liabilities, we're $212 trillion in debt. That is absolutely insane. But this number is directly related to people's belief that other people have the right to rule them. What happened to all that money? Because we're on the hook for it. It says the liability per citizen is over $500,000 per citizen, and that includes men, women, and tiny babies. Because there's like 323 to 330 million people supposedly in the United States. So basically, in essence, when the Federal Reserve prints money, and they don't even have to print it anymore, they just put zeros and ones in people's bank accounts because we're in the electronic age. But when they dilute the M2 money supply, they put your children, your grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren, and on into infinity on the banker hook. And it's only because people believe that the other people have the right to rule them. And they have the right to steal their stuff. And when they rob and rule us, they have done no wrong because they have the divine right of kings. That's literally the thought of statism. And this is the kind of trouble it gets us into. And it enables us to give $2.2 trillion a year to the defense contractors so that we can give another $12 billion to Israel this year. An average of $3.8 billion every single year. $100 million to Ukraine while our veterans are sleeping without food in their stomachs, homeless on the street. It's truly infuriating. And the thing that we're going to be talking about with Owen Benjamin is so far reaching, it's incomprehensible. It touches every single person's life. It touches every second they're alive. It touches every penny in their pocket. It touches everywhere they go, every person they meet, all day long, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And this isn't light stuff. And you want to keep your statism, $212 trillion in debt? Give me a freaking break. And then you got Owen Benjamin out here saying stuff like government is not the problem, never has been. Well, I agree. In one sense, government doesn't exist, but it's in our mind. It's in their minds. And they're okay with being robbed and ruled. It's unbelievable. So let me just reiterate. Anarchism is not a belief. Anarchism is demonstrable. It's demonstrable that there is no one who can logically, legitimately rule over you and rightly take your stuff. It's a reckoning with reality and an embracing of morality. And statism is the exact opposite. It is utterly disgusting, disturbing, immoral. It's theft, it's rape, it's murder, mass murder on a wholesale level you just can't even believe. And that's why I'm passionate about this. Am I emotional? I don't think so. I'm a human being, so I'm sure there's emotions involved in it. But I want to go, because Owen accused me of being over emotional about this. I love Owen's family. I don't want Back the Blue to happen to them. I don't want them to be swatted and raided and that SWAT team have no repercussions for or consequences for their actions. I don't want that to happen to Owen. So as Owen resists me in promoting true liberty, I'm going to keep promoting true liberty for him and his family, even though he can't see it right now. Even though he can't rightly, I don't think he has a proper understanding of what government actually is, what anarchism actually is. He threw out the word utopia. I don't think he understands what the word utopia actually describes. Okay, so I just put out this video right here. You can see it on my channel. You can see it on my Rumble channel or whatever. So I put this up and I got pretty close to right away. I got a response from Owen Benjamin. We will discuss it Saturday about the utopia of a forceless world. I'm looking forward to it. Now, I don't and haven't even mentioned the word utopia, and I haven't mentioned a utopia scenario. If you want to define utopia rightly and rightly understood what utopia is, and I gave him this definition, he says that I took it out of context. I told him that he engaged in a straw man by saying utopia, and let me just show you. I just said, because he said a utopia of a forceless world, and he's talking about anarchism. Utopia typically describes an imaginary community or society that possesses highly desirable or near perfect qualities for its members. There's only one part of that made the entire thing a straw man. I never have espoused an imaginary community. The people who fabricate an imaginary community are statists because they imagine that somebody has a higher claim over their life and property than you or me. They imagine that somebody can kick them around, tell them what to do, abuse them, and steal from them, and everything's A-okay as long as they provide for national security and the common defense and social welfare and all that stuff. That is imaginary, because from the get-go, there's nobody who fits that criteria. Nobody has the right to rule and rob. Nobody. If you don't have it and I don't have it, nobody has it. And if they do have it, where did they get it? Was it bestowed by God, or are they gods? See, it's totally fiction. An anarchist community, on the other hand, just says what is. There are no rulers. There is no right robbery. There isn't. So I said, you're certainly free to talk about that if you want to, but straw manning isn't a good position to take. And then he corrects me, or attempts to correct me. He said, where is a community without government? Let's see. Wait. Oh, yeah. Wait. No, he said another thing. Oh, yeah, here you go. He said, straw manning is saying, so what you're saying is, and then saying something the person isn't saying and arguing against that. Exactly, Owen. You said that I am dreaming of a world that doesn't exist. In other words, a utopia. He even says, so the fact that you're dreaming, so the fact your world that you dream of exists nowhere means it's not nowhere. Look up what strongman means. You're misusing it. And I said, I thought strongman was a fallacy involving the deliberate distortion of another person's argument, which he did, because I'm not pushing an imaginary topic. He is. Statism is imaginary. Anarchy is factual. It's just a fact that I don't have a right to rule you. It's just a fact that I'm not over you. It's just a fact that you're not under me. You're distorting my argument by introducing the concept of utopia. Please explain how I'm using it wrong. And then he says, straw man is saying, so what you're saying is, and then saying something the person isn't saying and arguing against that. I just lost it again. What is going on here? I wish it wouldn't do that. For example, if you said, Owen, unlike you, I oppose police brutality, that's a straw man because I'm not in favor of police brutality. That's not true. Because Owen is in favor of the police. Owen is in favor of government. Owen is in favor of people ruling you by force against your will. Therefore, Owen is in favor of police brutality, even though he says he isn't. Because if you have police, you have police brutality. If you have police, which are law enforcers, they're enforcing unjust laws. They will even ignore their own laws so that they can abuse you. Cops, that's just what they do. All cops break their oath from the very day they take their oath. How is that, Brian? How can you possibly say there are no good cops? Because if you're a hypocrite, you're not good. What do you mean they're a hypocrite? Because they swear to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and the laws of the state, which are always in conflict with each other. Federal law and state law contradicts almost every point of the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Ninth Amendment, and the 10th Amendment. So they're swearing to be hypocrites before they even leave the academy. You can't swear to keep for example, here's an example. You cannot swear to keep the right to be secure in your person's houses, papers, and effects, and then uphold the laws of prohibition. Meaning I can break down your door and search for alcohol, and if you've got alcohol, then I'm going to make you insecure in your person. Any law that's repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. Supposed to be, but that's not how cops see it. They're trying to make your freedom null and void, and they'll trample the Constitution to do it. That's why I agree with what Lysander Spooner said about the Constitution. Whether the Constitution be one thing or another, this much is certain. You don't have to exercise belief in it. It is certain. It's either authorized such a tyrannical government as we have, or it's been powerless to stop it. In either case, that piece of paper, that parchment at the Smithsonian Institute or wherever it is unfit to exist. It's not helping you at all. As a matter of fact, if anything, it's giving you a false sense of security when you say, "Oh, I got my Second Amendment right." The hell you do. We just made a red flag law and we're coming to your house because somebody called and said you're a danger to yourself or others in your community. The SWAT team is on its way. You don't have the Second Amendment right. You might have guns today, but there's no guarantee you're going to have them tomorrow, and the Constitution ain't going to help you out of that. Especially if you live in California or New York or some of these states where there ain't no freedom. So he'll do something. I'll point out the fact that he did it, and then he'll say he didn't do it by introducing another definition that is exactly what he transgressed. I kind of don't look forward to this conversation because it's going to be difficult to assail his facts, but because there's going to be a barrage of disinformation that's going to have to be weeded through, and it may get kind of murky at times. It's hard to talk to somebody like this, especially when they don't abide by the objective standard of morality. Don't do to others what you would want done to you. If don't do to others what you would want done to you and do to others what you would want done to you, and it's never right to initiate unjust force and violence on peaceful people who haven't done anything wrong. If those are true, then you have to reject government. You can't agree that those things are true and continue to support and defend the idea and concepts of government. It's mutually exclusive. It's absolutely diametrically opposed. Utopian means, and he just finishes out, that's straw man because I'm not in favor of police brutality. You are. If you're in favor of police, you're in favor of everything that goes along with it. It's kind of like somebody who, I'm a Democrat and I voted for this person right here, but I don't agree with everything. Yeah, but you voted him in. And if you voted for Joe Biden or Donald Trump, you voted on the very policies that they're going to enact, whether you agree with them or not. That's your guy. He enacted that law that took away freedoms, and it's because of you. I like what George Carlin said. He's like, hey, don't say it's my fault. What's going on in America is my fault. I didn't vote for this. On voting day, I stayed home. I did productive things. I wasn't involved in waiting in a line and pulling a lever and pushing a button. Don't blame me. If America goes down, it wasn't my fault. It's your fault. But they twist that around. They say, hey, you didn't get involved in the political process, so all the things that are going wrong, it's your fault. That's not logical. Like George Carlin, there's no logic in that. There's no logic in that. Where's the logic? Where's the logic? There is no logic. Carlin was funny, but man, when he let that arrow go, it hit the target every single freaking time. Utopia means nowhere, and a society without government is literally nowhere. Actually, the right to rule is nowhere. The legitimate, nobody's got a right to rule. That is nowhere. Demonstrate where somebody has the right to rule. I'm not saying demonstrate a situation where somebody's ruling. Oh, there are rulers. There are kings. There are priests. There are politicians making laws that are coming against your individual rights and taking your money. Yeah, that's true. All that's in reality, but it's not right. It is wrong. It is illegitimate. It fails the morality test. Period. And you don't even have to progress any further in the conversation. If they're not going to acknowledge that, yes, we need to do that which is highly moral. We never need to harm somebody. It's never right to threaten them or coerce them or kidnap them or cage them or steal their money. Then you are saying it is never right for somebody to be an agent of something called government. I don't even know how much more simple to make it. It doesn't exist. By making this statement, you just made your position even worse. And he did, because he's saying he's not in favor of police brutality, but he's in favor of the force of the government. How do you back up? Do you back up claims and accusations, or is that also a straw man? I've backed up every single one of my claims. And if you read this sentence close right here, you can see how he actually made his statement worse, and his position looks even worse than that, because he doesn't even understand what a straw man is. He set up a straw man against me by saying that I'm trying to set up a utopian society. The utopian society is a society that is completely in the imagination. Anarchy is not in the imagination. Owen Benjamin is a practical anarchist in his daily life, or he's not an anarchist and he's abusing his wife. And he's forcing her to do things she doesn't want to do. And he's making her go places that she doesn't want to go. And he's being mean to his children. I don't believe that for a second. I believe he's an anarchist. I believe he's a live and let live kind of guy. I believe that he doesn't want to be ruled. I believe that he's not trying to rule over other people. Therefore, he's an anarchist. So the straw man is not me who's trying to argue for the moral position that actually exists. It's him who's setting up the straw man by saying that I'm trying to set up something that doesn't exist, i.e. utopia. Unbelievable, man. It's almost like you want to splash your face with water and go, am I in a dream or something? What's going on here? Anarchism is not a location. You're grasping at straw men, says Dr. Sponge. And I haven't seen this. So it's nowhere? Interesting. Brian, are you now seeing that this isn't a straw man? No. The utopia comment is definitely a straw man because that is not my argument. A straw man is trying to set up something that somebody's saying or exaggerating it in such a way that they're not saying, or bringing a concept out that they haven't introduced. That's what he's doing with utopia. I'm not looking for utopia. I actually want to take utopia, that imaginary thing that government's supposed to be, and eradicate it from the mind of everybody. Where is government? Where is government? That's your question. When was the last time you were vaccinated? I shouldn't even said that word. Jeez. All right. Okay. So I just said, the reason you can say this. Oh, wait, what is the reason you can say this is because you appear to have a fundamental misunderstanding of government, the word anarchy, and by extension, morality and organizations, because nobody's saying that you shouldn't organize. All I'm saying under the umbrella of anarchy is, hey, let's just do what's right and stop doing what is wrong. But Owen's argument is, because he's for government, he's saying, no, let's continue to do wrong. Because if we stop this incessant doing wrong, society will collapse. And then I'm going to show you this cartoon. Stay tuned. You got to see this cartoon that Owen made. It's unbelievable what he did to himself in this cartoon. He demonstrated, you know what? I better play it before somebody takes it down. Let me play this. You weren't being honest, Owen Benjamin is mentally ill-equipped for this debate. He's going to strawman you the entire time. I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope this cartoon is still up. Where is the cartoon? Oh, come on. Somebody took the cartoon down. No way. Somebody took the cartoon down. Oh. Shoot. Let me go back to my profile. Maybe I missed it. It's supposed to be under, maybe it's under here. Let's see. I think it's under the original post. It was. Come on, cartoon, be there. Oh, there it is. Here's the cartoon. This is the Owen Benjamin cartoon. And let me just show you what he says before I play this cartoon. The voice you're going to hear in these cartoons, I think this cartoon was made for Owen Benjamin because it's his voice, or unless he voiced over a cartoon that already exists. Okay, Owen Benjamin says, This is what will happen to your property rights without government. Anarchy is a utopia thought. That's a lot. He doesn't understand anarchy if he's saying that. It's the highest moral thought. It's leave me alone. I'll leave you alone. I'll do my thing. If we want to engage in some kind of a business deal or whatever, it's going to be done under the, consensual voluntary arrangement that we do as adult to adult. So he says anarchy is utopian thought, thought up by wealth white detached perverts that have no concept whatsoever of the reality of most of the world. So that's another logical fallacy. It's like, why don't you take the concept of anarchy on its own merits, not who created and who thought up this anarchy idea, which may or may not be true. We don't even know. We don't even know. But you know what? Nobody has to make up anarchy. Just ask yourself a question. Do you want to be messed with if you're not up for being messed with? Do you want money stolen from you if you don't want money stolen from you? The answer is no. Well, that's anarchy. Will you steal money for somebody else? Will you harm somebody? I'll tell you what. Let me ask you this. If you knew you could get away with it, would you rob somebody? If you knew for a fact that you could get away with it scot-free, would you kill somebody? Would you rape somebody? Would you do wrong to anybody? Would you just punch somebody in the face just to see what it feels like because you knew you could get away with it? I would contend that the majority, I mean a high majority of the people in my audience and around the world would not. If they had the opportunity to do evil to somebody. Now, I'm not saying that there's not those people out there. There are. And they do evil even with government, even know that there's a high possibility that it's risk on for them. If they know if they rob the bank, there's a high possibility they ain't getting away with it, but they'll do it anyway. So I have no doubt that there are people in society where if they knew they could get away with it, they would do all those bad things to people because that's the kind of people they are. But the majority of the people are not like that. The majority of the people just want to be left alone. They want to put in a good day's work. They want to provide for their families. They want to be good people. They want to contribute to society, or they just want to be left alone and be reclusive or whatever. They want to have vacations. They want to enjoy life. And they want to go to bed with a clear conscience. I bet that's most people. So Owen Benjamin says, let me just read it over. This is what will happen to your property rights without the violent, oppressive machine of the state. Let's just put it that way. The right to rule. Without the right to rule, you got no property rights. That's ridiculous. You got no property rights with the right to rule. Do you think you own your property under the current government regime? You don't. You stop making payments, i.e. property taxes, you're going to lose everything. Everything in that house, they're going to foreclose on it. They're going to bring men with guns. They're going to drive you out. You don't own your property. Under an anarchist scenario, you absolutely would, because people would be sensitized to morality so much that if anybody tried to take your property under anarchy, they would be severely punished. That's if you got a lot of people on board with that. And it's not hard because you can demonstrate that it's right. It's the right thing to do. He says anarchy is a utopia thought up by white, detached perverts that have no concept whatsoever of the reality of most of the world. I contend that the people who don't have anything, they're detached from reality, are the people who imagine that other people have the right to rob and rule them. All territory and possessions is defended by force. Yep. And there's two kinds of force. There's illegitimate force, which is initiated on innocent people who just want to be left alone. And there's legitimate force when you're defending your life or your property. And I don't think he understands this. I mean, he's demonstrating that he doesn't. Any man claiming territory or possession must defend it with force. And that is legitimate force. And under anarchy, that's exactly what you do. The non-aggression principle doesn't mean you never show aggression. It means you never initiate the aggression. You never start the fight. It doesn't mean you're not going to eventually engage in the fight. If you're sitting on a subway with your little 5-year-old trying to make your way home, and 3 thugs walk up and start trying to take your kid, what are you going to do? You're going to fight like both of your lives depend on it, because they do. You are going to go ballistic. You're going to do whatever it takes to bring them down and get the heck out of there. That's not non-aggression. That is the utmost of aggression. And I can't think of anything more right to do than defend your little 5-year-old on a subway as you're, being confronted by assailants. Individuals can't, so they develop a public system called government. It's as though there's no other option. Oh, we got to have government. We got to have illegitimate means of defense where they rob us and rule us and pretend to secure us. Let me ask you, Owen, what percentage of police show up after the crime has committed? What percentage of the time do they show up? According to their own statistics, it's north of 95%. They don't get there in time. They only get there in time to write the report and order the body bags, if so necessary. Calling the cleanup crew and the EMS. It's almost as though, oh yeah, you're anarchist, but you can't organize. You can't organize for self-defense. You can't organize a neighborhood watch. Guess what? We have a neighborhood watch in our neighborhood. No government is involved. It's just everybody got in, in the, what's it called? The, not a council meeting. It's just some kind of every meeting every 3 months. And everybody said, hey, let's watch each other's back. People set up cameras. There's this neighborhood watch thing on phones where if there's, a lost dog or somebody prowling the neighborhood, and we all are on lookout. No government necessary. And you could do that with, the militia minded and go, hey, you know what? I'm being robbed right now. Push this button, an alert goes out to 50 people in your neighborhood. Everybody comes over. The threat is gone. It's over. 50 guns come out against 3 guns. What do you think's going to happen? I mean, things might get ugly, but you don't need the police. You don't need to call 911. Wait till you hear what he says in this comment. Let me this cartoon. Every single group of people in human history for all time. A forceless world is the fantasy of a rich white pervert who has never been hungry and has always possessed things based on paper. This is kind of a smokescreen argument, isn't it? Because if anarchy, which is the morally high position of don't mess with people who are not messing with you, which is what it is, it's not a fantasy. And it doesn't matter if let's say a pervert came up with it. Let's say Eugene Stoner was a pervert and he liked little people. Are you going to throw away your AR-15? Let's say Mikhail Kalashnikov was he liked altar boys and as he served in his local church. And you found out that there are 75 victims that he have. Are you going to throw away your AK-47? No. Doesn't matter. My AK-47 works. It's a great home defense weapon. My AR-15 works. I don't care about Eugene Stoner. Didn't even know he made the gun. I don't know who Mikhail Kalashnikov is. It doesn't matter. What does it matter? What's the relevance of the definition and how you live out anarchy have to do with who coined the word or whatever? It's just common sense. I don't understand this childish attempt at debate. I don't know. Don't listen to these people. It's a trap. Well, the person setting the trap is the person that's embroiled and engaged in logical fallacies. Let's listen to this cartoon.
Hola. Do you need your bushes trimmed? Oh, yeah. Mexican, get in here. How much do you pay? How much do you have? I'll give you $5 an hour. Si, senor. So you can work 100 hours and raise my kids too while I just go get plowed out by all these. See, I'll raise your children too. Hey, children, you should hate yourself.
And then he stops at the next window.
Hey, children, you should hate yourself.
Now listen closely to his contradiction in this cartoon. It is huge. It is very difficult to miss.
Hola. Oh, no, I don't need any lawn care. I'm not here for the lawn. I'm here to take your wife in your home. No. Sorry, Jose. This is my house now. No, but I paid $2.2 million. I put 20% down. My house. I have the power to take it from you. Oh, no way, Jose. I'm here to take your house and your woman. I'm going to call 911. There are no police. Policia has gone. I'm here to take your house. Don't you know I'm local? Oh, no, but I have property rights. No, you don't have property rights. Property rights only exist if there's enforcement. Do you want to die or do you want to be my slave? I can show you my deed. I'll show you my gun. Well, I don't defend myself. I don't have a gun because I know about Sandy Hook. So I did the courageous thing and I disarmed myself because I know the police are there There's no police.
An anarchist is not going to say, I did the courageous thing. I listened to the propaganda on TV about the SH thing and I got rid of my guns. No anarchist who's self-determined and self-responsible for protecting his own house and his own family is going to give up his guns. This is another smoke screen he's throwing up that's absolutely has nothing to do with reality. Plus, no anarchist is calling 911. Anarchists, they're no rulers. They're not going to call the police. They're not looking to get involved in the police. They know when cops show up, it usually doesn't go good for you. What happens when you call a welfare check on somebody? The person they're supposed to be checking the welfare on, in video after video after video, well, they kind of don't make it through the experience. So the guy at the front door is supposed to be an anarchist, but he gave up his guns and he's going to call the police and he's not going to stand there and defend himself and his family. And he's going to let his property get taken because there's 3 cholos outside who've got guns. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Owen.
I have 50.
Yeah, exactly. I can't think anything other than Iron Arm says Owen is intellectually dishonest. It'll be pointless debating him. Like at this point, man, I wanted him to be a good faith actor. I wanted him to be acting in good faith, but I don't see it. It's almost like he's going out of his way not to understand terms, not to understand that he's throwing up logical fallacies, and not to understand that it just looks like he's being disingenuous.
Homies, why do you think we have tattoo of teardrop on our face? We've committed murder. And then we came to America. We were making money and waiting for our time to take your house. We hate you. Well, I'm going to call the police. There are no police.
I'm going to call the police. Okay, I'm not going to play the rest of this because he shoots this guy and it gets pretty graphic. So I'm not going to show this. If you want to see the rest of it, let's see. I'll just. Here's the link. Here's the Twitter link, and that goes under mine. If you're not following me on Twitter, follow me there and on Rumble. So that's pretty much it. Here's my Rumble channel. Let me drop the link to this as well. Let me go to the comments here, see what you guys are saying. Let me just drop this link real quick. Yeah, that's what I plan on doing, Seven Sons. You're going to have to set the debate by defining, well, there's a couple terms that I'm going to define. And the first term that I'm going to define is government or statism. We got to be clear on what that is. It is just a mental construct. It's not rooted in reality. It's complete fantasy. And it really is along the lines. It's down on the bottom of the totem pole of superstitions, along with, making the sign of the cross, holy water, Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy. It's all down. Government, the right to rule is non-existent. It's non-existent. And it's highly immoral because there are people who think that they have the right to rule, and then they vote for people who think they have the right to rule. And then these people make these things called laws, which is also a fiction. It's just the opinion of politicians backed by the threat of force. And then you got guys with guns who are willing to come to your door because of this fiction. So it's not that agents of government are not real, that police aren't real, that there's not a physical reality of something called politicians in Washington, D.C., but it's all predicated on the supposed right of these people to rule over everybody else. And it's just fiction. And then, defining anarchy, defining what organization is. I'm sure that open borders, closed borders is going to be coming up. But anything that the agents of government do for you, anything that the police department does for you is rooted in theft, coercion, force, kidnapping, murder, all the evil things under the sun that nobody wants in any society. So to say that society can't run unless we have psychopaths who are going to imprison, cage, kidnap, threaten, and steal from us, you have got to be freaking off your rocker if you think we can't build a. We can't build structurally sound bridges unless we're threatening people. Give us your money so we can build that bridge. Guys, that's another thing. Defining the free market. First of all, we don't have a free market because we have a fiat currency Ponzi scheme system based on the Federal Reserve and their issuance and value of the currency. So it's not a free market anyway. Is there freedom in our current free market? Yes, there is. because you can take your dollars and you can buy something anonymously. That's anarchy. You can engage in a voluntary business transaction with your neighbor in your house away from all the cameras, and it's not logged anywhere. You can buy those brownies for $5, or you can get that, service that you wanted. You can go to a chiropractor and get your back popped with cash, and nobody's going to know that you did it. So there is anonymity. There is freedom within this so-called free market, but even Owen doesn't even understand the free market. Let me give you a quote that he said about free market. I put it in my last video. Quote, "The free market doesn't want solutions." The free market is all about coming up with solutions. Here's proof right here. The computing power that I have in my hand, I don't have to leave my house. If I want to find something out, I don't even have to hold my phone. All I have to do is say, HEY, hey Google. And then it just starts coming up. Look at that. How can I help? Here, let's just do it. Hey Google, who is Owen Benjamin?
According to Wikipedia, Owen Benjamin Cares Troy Smith, known professionally as Owen Benjamin, is an American conspiracy theorist, internet personality, white supremacist, as well as a far-right and alt-right neo-Nazi.
All right. So the free market doesn't want solutions when that's all the free market is all about. The free market is you and me. I have desires, wants, and needs. I want to make a living and produce for my family so that I can take care of them. You want the exact same thing. There are products out there that people make that we can't make because we don't have the means. We don't have the time. We're busy working and all that kind of stuff. So, hey, I want that, Coors Light or, whatever. I shouldn't have said, I want that Heineken. I don't know, whatever. I want that bag of potato chips, or I want that wheelchair. I can't make a wheelchair. My kid needs a wheelchair, so I'm gonna buy that. The free market produced something that I need. I want that wheelchair more than I want my dollars at this point in time. They want my dollars more than they want the wheelchair. That's why they made the wheelchair, so they could get my dollars, so they can make more wheelchairs and supply it to the market that needs that. As soon as they start making stuff that people don't need, they go broke. And then somebody else springs up. Or maybe these people make wheelchairs and this company makes wheelchairs, but this company is going to go, you know what? I think we can do it for cheaper. I think we can make a better product, a higher quality product. And now there's competition, and now there's market forces at work that are working in your favor. The market produces, what does he say? The free market doesn't want solutions. I don't get that. And then he says stuff like, isn't it weird? This is a quote. This is a quote that he gave me. He typed this out to me. Isn't it weird how many ANCAPs are Nazis? There's no such thing as an anarchist Nazi. If there's an anarchist Nazi, then they're a Christian atheist. There's dry water. There's powdered water. I don't understand. He seems smart to me. He's got a wide following. He's got like 15,000 people paying for his subscription services. He's highly popular. People like him so much. It's almost like a cult following where they put bear at the end of their name. Like it's like Brazil bear or licorice bear, candy cane bear, or Lamborghini bear. They put bear after their name. And I don't know. I don't know why they do it. You would have to ask them, but he's got a dedicated following, and almost everything that I see coming out of his mouth is just a string of hypocrisy and contradictions and convoluted ideas and misdefining terms. And I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Yeah. Somebody said Aaron Health said he's never seemed smart to me. It is a cult following. Well, you know what? In a sense, statism is a cult following because you actually have to believe it for it to be a reality, reality in your mind, because there's no such thing as somebody who rules over you, but there are a lot of people who believe it. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of term defining, and hopefully we're not going to get into the weeds and off the rails too much, but I don't think I'm holding out hope at this point. There's a running bet at Covert Radio Channel on who Owen Benjamin will turn on next if anyone wants to get in on it. That's another thing is when I've personally witnessed this. When you say something in his chat room that he doesn't agree with, he just bans you. You're gone. You're gone. And if you go to his, I don't know if it's like this now, but if you go to his Twitter page, see this. I don't know if you can see this. Let's see. You see this little symbol right here to the reply. Most of his things you can't reply to unless you're a subscriber. So you hit the subscribe button, you subscribe to him, and then you can reply. But only people who are subscribed to him can leave a comment. It's almost like he doesn't care about free speech. Now, sometimes right here, you can reply. Sometimes he'll turn it on. Sometimes he'll keep it. A lot of times he'll keep it off. So I don't know, man. I don't know. He calls himself the best comedian in the world. He says I've seen him say he's the best piano player in the world. It's just a lot of crazy stuff. A lot of crazy stuff. I'm Fart Bear, says Young Skeeter. Well, that's an hour, guys. I think that's about enough. I appreciate you hanging out. If you like this video, if you think that what I said was, in accordance with morality and truth and how we should change this world, give it a like. There's 286 likes right now. If you can get it up to 300 likes, I'd really appreciate it. Share this video with everybody you know. If you haven't subscribed to this channel. Hit the bell notification icon. Sign up to my private email list. It's free, highimpactflix.com. I apologize. I haven't sent out an email in it's probably going on a month and a half, 2 months. So I'll try to get back on that. If you want to support the channel, the links are in the description. I'll leave the information about the debate. I just hate calling it debate. Saturday, January 27th at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll leave all that information. I'll leave Owen Benjamin's information in the description. If you want to, support the channel, become a channel member, grab a shirt. But more importantly, guys, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance and indifference to this notion. And statism is not freedom, by the way. It's slavery. The state is slavery. Government is slavery. It is violence. It is extortion. It is threats. It is robbery. And we don't want that. We can build a society without that. So I appreciate you guys. I will see you in the next video, the next live stream. Hang tight. Fight for your freedoms. If you don't exercise your freedoms, you will lose them. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.